It's a bit of a different sort of a look for their team and supporters.
Well, I tell you what, the team that's really, well, I don't know if it's a surprise for you, but it's a bit of a surprise for me, is Tasman. Boy, they have come out firing. They went and beat my team, Wellington, in the first round. Just demolished them too. I think they scored over 40 points over Wellington. They also, Tasman had a real good game against Canterbury as well, beating them very convincingly. So, yeah, it is uncharted waters, I guess you could say, for Canterbury. They still have yet to notch up a win this season. Still plenty of the season left to go, but it's not usual.
And I like the way you went from the Tasman Markles to using the uncharted waters kind of phrase there, Keithy. It was rather poignant. And one of my favourite teams, I supported one down south. It was the Markles. One up north, it was the Taniwha. And throw in the Taranaki Bulls for good measure. But those are three clubs, because of that Māori sort of component that I tend to favour. And it's always good when they do get to upset some of those big clubs like the Aucklands, the Wellingtons and the Canterbury.
Well, it should be, it was a real good game, I dare say. Wellington, they strided out in front. Then Canterbury did make a comeback, but they just didn't have enough in the tank, I suppose. Well, not enough time, really. So just unable to get there. And it could be, most of their players are certainly in the All Black team, aren't they?
But that's the thing, though, Kitty. I mean, those young players in Canterbury, this is just laying the foundation for the next generation. If you keep an eye on those names, they're definitely going to be future All Blacks. And, it's a good thing that they are losing games because you get that appreciation as your career goes on, never to go down this path again. And probably why the Red and Black teams always had, successful sides. You groom them when they're young and you make the mistakes, you take the losses, the hits, the punches, and then in time you become a quality team, and you never forget those roots, and you always tend up to keep winning.
Reno, must be a tough one so far I know because you're a Canterbury supporter, aren't you? Yeah. So it must be a tough one trying to follow your Canterbury team, bro?
Yeah, it is tough, mate. Look, I've got my red and black jersey on now as I talk to you, and to see that 1 point loss, but Raa nailed it on the head. A lot of their boys that would normally play there, based out and moved up to other franchises. There's the likes of a few of them that are playing up in the Markles who have been dominating, going really well in the first 2 weeks. But it is tough, and it is just kind of a slow rebuild. And Raa said it actually, remember the names, they'll be around when it comes to Super Rugby, and then the dominance will come through. So it is going to be tough. I would guess next week they may win against Southland because Southland hasn't been the flashes, and they've got a bit of a tough head with the North Harbour boys later on in Invercargill. But yeah, no, it is hard, but that's just the way it is. And good. What I'm liking, mate, is the Tasman team.
Oh, that Tasman team, I tell you what, they're like the Canterbury team, aren't they? Well,
Yeah, they are. And I wish their one on the other night was a bloody Shield Challenge, which is good for Hawks. So good to see the All Black players out there, or we being running around.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what is interesting, though, is that Steve Henson, I don't know if you could say that he's dropped Reiko Ioane or what, but he'll be playing for Auckland, I think, Reno, today.
Yeah, he will be. Yeah. 9 of the boys have gone back to play some Mitre 10 footy, so just to get a bit of rugby and try and find that brilliance that they do have. And look, he's making the selections very, very soon. And yeah,
is that a sign?
Got a bit of work to do.
Is that a sign for? Is that a sign for Ione that he might not be in the All Black team, or what do you think?
It is a sign. Look, he didn't have the flashes of more Super Rugby games. And then remember, they were kind of stood down, took their little breaks and so forth, and he hasn't kind of brought it to the main game in the black jersey. With the pressure of 2 outstanding youngsters, George Bridge and
Sevu
Reese. It's hard for Henson and the selectors, and we saw that last week against the Wallabies, what these 2 young men done on the wing. And that's the kind of stuff we would have seen years gone by. Rico can do. We know he can do it, but he just doesn't have it at the moment. And when you think he's won the awards at the big rugby awards as well, he just needs to find his feet. And let's hope he can do it, because he does want to get back into this World Cup squad. But I can tell you now, I would say those 2 youngsters have booked their seats.
Well, it's hard to keep them out, eh? Severeese and, and George Bridge.
Yeah.
Boy, they really shone out in the game against Australia. It's going to be real difficult, even for the likes of someone like Ioane, who is pretty much, we thought, a lot of people would have thought had cemented his place. I remember when, who was it? One of the Fijian wingers who we thought would have definitely been in the World Cup, didn't even get to go. Gosh, I can't even remember who it was. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one for Rico. We'll see what happens with him in the coming weeks, eh, bro?
Oh, definitely. Let's hope we can bounce back because we know he's a brilliant player, and yeah, bit of work for him to be done. There's other areas in the number 12. Obviously, they look at Ryan Crotty coming back with the experience. I would think that'll be the demise of Nani Laumapi.
Right.
They'll take Sonny Bill for sure. It's going to be in the loose forwards and the locks who will miss there because, you're pretty well tried and true with Kane.
Yeah.
And the rest of them all there as well. And Kieran Reid's going to be there. And you got to have the star number 6 from the Hurricanes there as well.
Yeah. I dare say.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they will announce, mate.
There's going to be some very, very
miss out.
Yeah, there's going to be some very, very disappointed people missing out. Some disappointed fans, but yeah, at the end of the day, Raa, what really matters, I suppose, is bringing that cup back at the end of the day, bro.
Well, it is, Keithy, and I think even the big man himself, Hansen, alluded to that fact that, these games against the Wobblies really don't matter as much now we're in World Cup year because, as we've just mentioned, the big prize is the one that it's going to come out of Japan, and hopefully our team will go in there prepared and we can secure another victory. There have been times throughout this year where, you kind of scratch your head a bit on their play, but I don't know, they'll seem to peak come the tournament, I hope. But I have the faith to pinch a Warriors sane, and I do believe that they will come back and keep the country happy, I'm hoping.
Right, let's take a look at our Heartland Championship, of course. Poverty Bay, they head over to your neck of the woods there, up to Paeroa, playing Thames Valley, 2:30 kickoff over there, Rino?
Yeah, they're in town. Arrived yesterday late afternoon, and good to see them out there walking around, going through the town. Went down to the old field, and that's looking in pretty good nick at the moment. I was down there with the Valley boys and checking it out, and yeah, it's a big game. Obviously, a lot of pressure on the Valley boys, winning the Meads Cup last year and doing it tough down in the South Island, taking on a couple of formidable opponents in the semi and the final. And to have the cup up here, went around to all the local schools, nearly every schools had a chance to see it. But we get it underway, the Heartland Championship, and it starts, like you say, with your team from out of Gizzy, the boys from Poverty Bay. I would think have had the upper hand on the old Swampies over the last couple of seasons, especially in our neck of the woods. So it will be a big game. A couple of new players in the Swampies, and the curtain raiser is an Auckland team coming down to play the Valley under 85 kgs development team. And yeah, we'll get underway this afternoon. I'll be down there, mate.
Absolutely. Now, if I remember correctly, though, I think Poverty Bay lost when they came up there. It was a close game from what I recall, if I do recall it correctly. Do you remember it at all?
It was one point.
Yes.
Yeah, 1 point in Te Aroha. That was the game where the first female referee conducted ever in Heartland Championship last year, and our former Blackfern lady, and she was out there doing it. So I think the boys in the red got over us by 1 point there, but last year's return was a different story. But yeah, anyway, you're right, Keithy. I was looking for you in the grandstand, but I think you were held up at the bar.
Oh, I didn't even jump on the bus there, bro. Didn't even jump on the bus. Now, JT, your favourite rugby team. Now they'll be travelling. Well, they had to catch a plane first of all. Then go on a 2-hour bus ride all the way over to Bulla. So they'll be kicking off their campaign, their Heartland Championship campaign down there in Bulla. I don't know. There's been a bit of Bulla going over there with a lot of Fijians of late in Bulla.
Full of Bulla.
So, Yeah, that's where they start off their campaign, and it's going to be an interesting one, I think. What do you reckon there, JT?
Well, let's hope so. I've just seen Bailey Mackey's posted a picture of himself wearing the much maligned nasty Paeroa East Coast rugby jersey, so wishing the boys all the best of luck. So I think it's time to end that 5-year reign of disappointment and try and get a win. Please, just one win. Make it be against Thames Valley, even better.
Well, I tell you, Keithy, the Cuzzy Bales will be pretty ripped that Zachy Guilford, who was on Treasure Island apparently, is fronting up for the boys, and I think he had a first good hit out against that Rotsura sub-union side, so that'll be a watch this space this season.
Yeah, I think he certainly... well, and one of the things is, I remember his... he was talking with Darylene Rogers up there at Radio Ngāti in his interview with her, and he was saying, he's only one man really. At the end of the day, he's just one man, and he's just there to help. He's not there to, he's only there to help. He's not going to win championships or anything for them. What do you reckon, bro?
Well, yeah, Keithy, but, that's that expectation. Sadly, we know he's only one man, and unfortunately, he can only do what one man can do. He's not a superhero, but that expectation from the fans are going to be a lot bigger than, what we've just said, and I think they'll be looking for miracles, but the best of luck out to Zachy. He's going to give it all he can, and, his glory days aren't behind him in the least. I think he's going to have a few good matches this season, and hopefully for the Coast Flake they can secure a few wins. They've had a bad run as of the last few years, so he might be that guiding light that the boys in blue need to reshape and respark their season.
I think so.
Can I just make mention of the Barry Cup? I always wondered who Barry was, which is a local sub-union competition here on this side of Aotearoa. But it's an interesting concept. It involved 3 unions actually at one stage, the East Coast, Poppy Bay and Hawke's Bay, when Wairau was under them. But it's also like a bit of an unofficial iwi competition, because like some of the clubs like Matakawa would have represented whānau Apanui, Hukurangi, Ngāti Porou, Uawa, Hauti, Waikohu, Mahaki and Wairoa Kahununu. So, it's an interesting kind of a competition.
Yeah.
And the Kazis out Waikohu, they are the current holders, and they've got a big one coming up against Uawa. So always good to get out and support those games. They're great matches, Keithy.
They are great matches. They have been for many, many years, the Barry Cup.
Do you know who Barry was, just out of curiosity, Keithy? I don't know if that was the guy's first name or last name.
I don't know his...
He played for all those clubs, so...
Well, I don't know... Well, I did do a bit of research, because I got Ben, our man Ben O'Brien-Leaf, onto the job. Yeah, well, and he was saying that, Barry Park, that's here in...
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
So that was the Barry whānau that cup was named after.
Wow.
Obviously. Possibly even, DJ Barry, which is the, the bottle store around here.
It was funny, just a little while ago, it clicked that, the wicker ball, I think JT probably remembers it. It's like the local Renfuli Shield competition here in Gisborne for the schools, primary schools. I didn't realise that there was a connection to Woolly Wicker, the Poppy Bay mascot as well, so it took me all these years just to put 2 and 2 together. So some interesting historical facts there in terms of the Barry Cup and also the wicker ball there, Keithy.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I remember Dwayne Russell coming in one day, he was talking about the wicker ball. Well, it's a very different. They don't do it in that sort of style anymore. They run a tournament. They do it in a tournament style format sort of thing these days. It's not like you go and challenge for the wicker ball anymore. It's very different. And
I think up in Reno's way, it was came into the roller mills tournaments. I think I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I'm not overly sure.
Just junior rugby grades.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the Roller Mills tournament happening tomorrow here in Paeroa, so they all come into town.
Oh, wow. Oh, cool.
Ty Mitchell down in Hawke's Bay is another one.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, I remember that one you guys are talking about over on the Eastie there, and Yeah, I remember coming out to some of those.
Yeah, it's pretty big. It